For 4,500 years, the Great Pyramid of Giza has stood against time, earthquakes, the harsh desert conditions. So could these hidden signals reveal the secret behind its incredible survival?
For centuries, the Great Pyramids have stood as the ultimate monument to human engineering, defying our attempts to understand exactly how they were built. Now, a massive claim is sweeping the internet, insisting that artificial intelligence has finally translated lost Egyptian hieroglyphs to reveal the shocking truth. Millions are convinced that an autonomous machine has uncovered secret blueprints for ancient water elevators. But before you accept this digital revelation, you need to understand the dangerous game being played with history. Are we looking at a revolutionary archaeological breakthrough, or the most elaborate, algorithm-driven lie ever sold to the modern world? The viral claim versus reality. You'd think the internet had completely lost its mind if you spent 10 minutes scrolling through your feed today. A persistent, high-budget digital fever dream is currently sweeping across TikTok and Instagram, claiming that a runaway artificial intelligence has finally cracked the code of the ancient world. The narrative is as seductive as it is simple. An autonomous, super-intelligent engine supposedly decoded a cache of lost Egyptian documents, revealing secret blueprints that prove the Great Pyramids were not dragged by human sweat and muscle, but lifted into the sky by sophisticated high-pressure water elevators. It sounds like a revolutionary breakthrough in archaeology. It sounds like a secret finally laid bare by the cold, impartial logic of a machine. But it is a total, dangerous lie. The digital mechanics behind this deception are terrifyingly effective. These viral shorts are the product of generative adversarial networks, or GANs. These systems function through a parasitic duel between two machine learning algorithms. The first, the generator, churns out hyper-realistic synthetic media, mimicking the tone of high-production documentaries. The second, the discriminator, acts as an relentless editor, instantly identifying and correcting inconsistencies in the generated footage until the final product becomes indistinguishable from reality. These systems are tuned to bypass your critical faculties by flooding your senses with perfectly rendered images, all designed to be consumed on the small, flickering screens of your smartphone where details go unnoticed. Think about that for a second. You are being manipulated by a machine that is specifically trained to make its own falsehoods look indistinguishable from a peer-reviewed historical discovery. This viral loop is a textbook example of a digital conflation. It functions by taking two entirely separate, legitimate developments and smashing them together to create a fantasy that the algorithm can easily promote. On one side, you have genuine, rigorous research involving machine learning models being trained to assist in the cataloging and optical character recognition of weathered, ancient scripts. On the other hand, you have a highly controversial and speculative engineering paper published in 2024 that proposed a potential hydraulic mechanism for the much older step pyramid of Djoser at Saqqara. The online grifters took the scientific veneer of the first topic and the sensational engineering claims of the second, synthesized them into a single cohesive myth, and sold it to you as an AI breakthrough. The reality is that the artificial intelligence involved in this story did not formulate or validate any hydraulic theory of pyramid construction. It was not a machine that unearthed a secret from the sands of time. Instead, human creators exploited the accessibility of AI text-to-video generators and voice cloning software to project their own modern technological fantasies onto a vulnerable public. They are not uncovering history. They are rewriting it for engagement. You have been sold a polished, algorithmic fiction designed to satisfy a craving for mystery, stripping away the actual, grinding, and incredibly impressive reality of ancient Egyptian labor in favor of a lazy, futuristic shortcut. It is time to separate the machine from the myth, real AI breakthroughs in Egyptology. If you step away from the viral algorithms and look at the sand-swept trenches of modern archaeology, what artificial intelligence is genuinely doing is far more fascinating than any fake hydraulic elevator. Genuine computational epigraphy does not rely on autonomous translation engines or magic crystal balls. Current machine learning models cannot perfectly translate ancient scripts alone. Deciphering the ancient Egyptian language is an agonizingly complex endeavor because it was not a single alphabet. The language was written in 3 distinct, overlapping scripts spanning 3 millennia, each presenting entirely unique computational challenges. First, you have formal hieroglyphic, a pictographic system of agonizing detail carved into monumental stone. This was the sacred script of kings and gods, intended to last for eternity. Then came hieratic, a cursive adaptation used by scribes rushing to record daily administrative ledgers on papyrus. This was the everyday working script of the empire, built for sheer speed and efficiency. Finally, the late period brought demotic, a highly abstract, simplified, and heavily ligatured script looking almost alien compared to classic temple carvings. To make sense of this evolution, computer scientists are not building machines that magically spit out English sentences. That is a total fantasy. Instead, they deploy computer vision and natural language processing models as high-speed cataloging and paleographical alignment tools. The core trick is converting diverse visual characters into a standardized Latin-based metalanguage known as transliteration. This bridges the gap, turning a drawn falcon or hasty demotic scribble into a shared textual format that deep learning architectures process for syntactic analysis and dictionary cross-referencing. 3 institutional tools lead this digital revolution. The first major breakthrough arrived in the year 2020 with Google Fabricius, a platform named after the recognized father of modern epigraphy. Developed with Google Arts and Culture, Macquarie University, Cycle Interactive, and Ubisoft, Fabricius functions as an advanced digital workbench. Powered by Cloud AutoML Vision, the platform operates through Learn, Play, and Work interfaces. Professional researchers use its manual thresholding extraction tools to classify over 800 unique signs. It cross-references visual inputs against an enormous database to suggest morphological alignments, acting as a fast digital assistant for working epigraphers. Then we have Thoth AI, engineered by computational linguists at the University of Tsukuba. This system utilizes retrieval-augmented generation, paired with large language models like Claude 3.5 and 4.5 Sonnet, to translate Middle Egyptian and Coptic texts. By integrating vectorized databases, specifically Raymond Oliver Faulkner's A Concise Dictionary of Middle Egyptian, Thoth AI delivers contextually precise linguistic parsing. Yet, its power is strictly boxed in. Its optical character recognition module is optimized entirely for printed Coptic and Romanized transliterations. If you feed it raw, handwritten hieratic manuscripts, the system completely fails to process the strokes. The true bleeding edge was presented at SIGGRAPH 2025 by the AIRI Institute and ISP Ray-S. They built a single continuous pipeline utilizing modern computer vision and transformer-based natural language processing trained on real-world, degraded archaeological surfaces. This deep learning system can generalize across eroded stone reliefs, broken Kleostrata, and faded papyri captured in low-light museum photographs. The ultimate mission of this project is unprecedented in scale. They intend to generate synthetic training data to run optical character recognition on massive, untranslated collections of everyday papyri currently rotting away inside the Museo Egizio in Turin. Artificial intelligence is reshaping our understanding of the ancient world, but not as an omniscient oracle rendering humans obsolete. It is an extraordinary accelerator for human genius, processing the raw data of antiquity so historians can finally read the lost voices of the past. The controversial written evidence. We need to leave the digital fantasies behind and travel to a desolate stretch of the Red Sea coast. The date is March 12, 2013. An archaeological mission directed by Pierre Tallet and Gregory Marward is excavating the remote port of Wadi al-Yarf. Deep inside man-made storage galleries carved directly into the unforgiving limestone hills, they do not find the remnants of alien technology or advanced hydraulic blueprints. They pull the oldest inscribed papyrus archive ever discovered from the dust. This is the Diary of Merer, also known as the Wadi al-Yarf Papyri, or the Red Sea Scrolls. And here is the undeniable truth. This monumental text was not decoded by a supercomputer. It was translated entirely by the agonizing, brilliant effort of human scholars. Written in cursive hieroglyphs and early hieratic script, the logbook plunges us directly into the blinding reality of the Fourth Dynasty. The records drop us straight into the 26th and the 27th years of the reign of Pharaoh Khufu, right as the Great Pyramid was nearing completion. The author is a middle-ranking administrative official named Merer, holding the title of Sehej, or inspector. Merer is not a mystic or an architect. He is a foreman commanding an Aper, a massive work gang consisting of 160 to 200 men. This workforce operates with military precision, subdivided into 4 tactical za, or files, of 40 men, with each unit assigned to a specific cargo boat. Their mission is brutally straightforward and logistically staggering. Merer and his crew fill their heavy barges with high-quality, fine white limestone from the eastern quarries of Tura. This is the premium material destined to form the smooth, blindingly reflective outer shell of the Great Pyramid, referred to in the ancient text as Akhet Khufu, the horizon of Khufu. To move this immense weight, the Egyptians did not defy gravity with water elevators. They mastered the landscape. The logbook details a highly developed network of artificial canals and basins, engineered specifically to bypass the treacherous, shifting water levels of the Nile. Merer explicitly records his crew delivering the massive Tura limestone blocks to a centralized administrative harbor complex called Ro She Khufu, the entrance to the basin of Khufu. This master port sat right near the primary construction headquarters, all under the iron direction of the absolute chief overseer of works, the noble Ankh-Haf, who happened to be Khufu's own half-brother. Historians openly refer to Merer's logs as the Excel spreadsheets of the ancient world. The inspector tracked his crew's brutal labor in half-day increments, meticulously recording every single delivery of food, water, and grain rations needed to keep the colossal operation alive. You can see the precise, exact bureaucratic heartbeat of a superpower. Yet, as you read through these obsessively detailed shipments and harbor dockings, you encounter a terrifying omission. Amidst the endless catalog of heavy material transport, continuous canal maintenance, and seasonal supply lines, Merer records absolutely nothing about machines, complex levers, or high-pressure water elevators used to lift the massive stones into the sky. The logbook remains purely a horizontal shipping ledger. You have to ask yourself why a man tracking every single grain of wheat would fail to mention a revolutionary hydraulic lifting machine. The sheer silence provides the definitive answer. Elevating thousands of dense, 2-ton stone blocks up a massive artificial mountain was not an anomaly worthy of specialized administrative tracking. It was just another grueling, standard day of human blood, sweat, and pure brute force civil engineering. The 2024 hydraulic lift controversy. We now arrive at the exact academic spark that ignited the entire internet wildfire. In August 2024, the open-access journal PLOS ONE published a highly controversial study by French hydrological specialist Xavier Landreau and his colleagues at a private research institute called Paléotechnique. Funded by private entities including the Sikame Group, Atutskarto, and Very Lux, this team proposed a radical alternative construction theory. They claimed that the step pyramid of Djoser at Saqqara, the oldest monumental pyramid on Earth built around 2680 BCE, was constructed using a massive water-powered hydraulic lift system. Using satellite imagery and three-dimensional computer models rendered in Unreal Engine, the authors mapped out a complex ancient hydrological network. They pointed to the Gsar El Mudir, a massive, previously unexplained stone enclosure sitting west of Saqqara, and identified it as a gigantic check dam designed to capture sudden runoff from the 15-square-kilometer Abusir Wadi watershed. From there, they proposed that water from this resulting temporary lake was channeled east into the dry moat, a deep trench surrounding the pyramid complex. According to their models, the southern section of this moat contained deep, consecutive rock-cut compartments that functioned as a massive water purification facility. Here, heavy sediment would settle out of the muddy water to prevent catastrophic clogs in the subterranean valves further down the line. The filtered water was then allegedly funneled through underground rock-cut tunnels directly to the base of two 23-foot-wide vertical shafts that drop nearly 100 feet deep into the earth. The north shaft sits beneath Djoser's pyramid. At the base of these drops, the researchers identified subterranean granite compartments sealed with mortar joints and heavy rock plugs. They argued these compartments acted as industrial valves. By manually removing and replacing these heavy rock plugs, ancient engineers could theoretically control the intense water pressure to raise and lower a massive wooden float. Connected by thick ropes and pulleys to a counterbalanced platform, this mechanism would allow workers to raise up to 100 tons of 300-kilogram limestone blocks directly up the central shaft in a volcano-like fashion. You would think a discovery of this magnitude would rewrite history overnight. Instead, it triggered a massive, devastating academic counterattack. Mainstream Egyptologists, geoarchaeologists, and civil engineers completely rejected the theory. Researchers like Judith Bunbury of Cambridge and Oren Siegel of Toronto pointed out a fatal flaw in the environment itself. The localized climate during the Third Dynasty was fiercely arid. Occasional, unpredictable, seasonal rains simply could not supply the immense, continuous volume of water required to operate an industrial hydraulic lift. The geology of the site provides an even harsher reality check. Egyptologist John Darnell of Yale University highlighted that the limestone bedrock of the Saqqara Plateau is heavily fractured and incredibly porous. Pumping thousands of gallons of water into unlined trenches and rock-cut shafts would result in catastrophic leakage straight into the surrounding desert, destroying the necessary hydrostatic pressure in minutes. Furthermore, archaeologist Kamil Kureskiewicz noted a massive redundancy in human labor. Building, maintaining, and perfectly sealing an underground hydraulic machine in antiquity would require vastly more energy and physical resources than simply dragging the 300-kilogram blocks using traditional methods. Later attempts by online speculators to extend this hydraulic theory to the towering monuments on the Giza Plateau have been similarly dismissed, with experts proving that supposed deep underground cylinders are nothing more than natural geological voids and misunderstood radar anomalies, shutting down the strange internet rumors once and for all. The controversies in ramps, sledges, and friction. The true genius of the ancient Egyptians does not rely on science fiction machinery or imaginary water elevators. Their absolute mastery lay in manipulating raw materials science and the brutal laws of friction. If you want to understand how they built the Great Pyramid, you have to look at the tribology of wet sand. In April 2014, a team of physicists led by Daniel Baan at the University of Amsterdam published a groundbreaking study in Physical Review Letters that solved the horizontal transport mystery. Imagine dragging a massive 2.5-ton limestone block on a wooden sledge across the desert. When you pull over dry sand, sediment accumulates directly in front of the runners. This creates a physical wall of immense drag, requiring impossible human force to inch forward. The builders bypassed this nightmare using physics. By adding a precise volumetric water-to-sand ratio of 2 to 5% directly ahead of the sledge, they fundamentally altered the Earth. This specific volume creates microscopic capillary bridges between the individual sand grains. We map this phenomenon perfectly using the Young-Laplace equation. The surface tension of the water, represented by gamma, physically binds the loose grains together. This capillary pressure makes the sandpath twice as stiff, creating a compacted surface. Because the sand no longer piles up against the runners, the coefficient of kinetic friction is cut clean in half. The sledge smoothly glides. It is an incredibly delicate balance, though. If they over-wetted the path, the delicate capillary bridges would instantly break, turning the desert into a muddy bog and drastically increasing the drag again. This is not just a laboratory theory. We have absolute visual proof carved into the ancient world. Inside the Middle Kingdom tomb of Jehudi-Hotep at Deir el-Bersha, dating to circa 1900 BCE, a massive wall painting depicts exactly 172 men hauling a colossal 58-ton statue on a heavy wooden sledge. Standing at the very front of that sledge is a single worker deliberately pouring liquid from a jar directly onto the sand path ahead of the runners. For decades, early historians dismissed this act as some symbolic religious purification ritual. Daniel Bond's physics experiments proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that this individual was executing highly practical, precision civil engineering. Wet sand beautifully explains exactly how they moved millions of dense blocks horizontally across the plateau, but getting them vertically up the pyramid requires an entirely different breed of mechanics. In 2018, an Anglo-French archaeological mission mapping the ancient Hatnub alabaster quarry discovered an exceptionally well-preserved ramp system dating straight back to the reign of Khufu. The Hatnub system features a steep central ramp with a staggering 20% gradient. This steep incline is literally double the slope modern engineers previously thought was possible for hauling heavy stones. Flanking the central ramp are two continuous staircases lined with a regular pattern of deep vertical post holes. These deep holes held massive wooden posts up to half a meter thick. Workers standing safely on the staircases would firmly wrap their thick hauling ropes around these firmly anchored wooden pillars. By pulling downward or horizontally, the workers used the posts as a massive mechanical force multiplier. This ingenious setup served as a highly effective primitive pulley system. They successfully utilized this exact mechanical advantage centuries before the formal invention of the compound pulley, elevating thousands of solid limestone blocks up the towering pyramid walls. Alternative theories and enduring mysteries. You would think the internet had completely lost its mind if you spent 10 minutes scrolling through the alternative history forums today. Long before viral algorithms started pushing water elevators, a different technological fantasy dominated the conversation. In 1974, French chemist Joseph Davidovits proposed the geopolymer concrete hypothesis. He argued that the ancient Egyptians did not quarry, transport, and carve millions of massive blocks. Instead, he claimed they simply cast the Great Pyramid in place, mixing weathered limestone aggregate with water, natron, kaolinitic clay, and lime to trigger an aggressive synthetic stone-like binder. Think about that for a second. The idea suggests the greatest megalithic structure on Earth is essentially just an ancient poured concrete project. Modern materials science absolutely destroys this theory entirely. When you put the casing stones of the Great Pyramid under detailed petrographic examination, the concrete myth immediately falls apart. These massive blocks are composed of natural, fossiliferous limestone packed with up to 40% intact marine microfossils. We are looking at perfectly preserved coin-shaped protozoa called nummulites, alongside fully intact fossilized sand dollars and fragile sea urchins. If ancient Egyptian laborers had heavily crushed millions of tons of solid limestone bedrock to form a giant concrete slurry, every single one of these delicate microstructures would have been violently pulverized into fine dust. Furthermore, the microscopic analysis goes even deeper, revealing that these nummulites are firmly locked in a natural, horizontal sedimentary bedding. This exact geological pattern perfectly matches the natural Mokattam and Tura rock formations. If you pour a heavy, wet concrete mixture into a massive wooden mold, gravity dictates that the heavy fossil shells will unnaturally settle right to the bottom before the thick slurry hardens. That artificial gradient simply does not exist anywhere in the pyramid blocks. Highly sensitive chemical tests using X-ray diffraction and scanning electron microscopy continually fail to find any trace of a synthetic alkali aluminosilicate binder phase, such as analcime, which would be everywhere in a sodium-activated concrete. Add the undeniable abundance of hand-carved chisel marks found all over the stones, alongside the total archaeological absence of any ancient industrial stone-crushing machinery, and the geopolymer theory completely crumbles. And we do not even need to spend breath on fringe ideas like acoustic levitation, which is nothing more than pure physical nonsense. Yet, stripping away the internet myths does not mean we have all the answers. Genuine, unsettling mysteries still keep modern structural engineers awake at night. We still have no definitive technical explanation for how the massive, highly polished pyramidions, the ultimate capstones, were hoisted and perfectly positioned at the terrifying, dizzying apex of these monuments. We are still intensely debating the exact internal architecture, with brilliant but unproven concepts like architect Jean-Pierre Houdin's interior ramp theory, suggesting a hidden spiral ramp exists inside the outer shell. Perhaps most haunting of all is the sheer mathematical perfection of the layout. The builders aligned the massive sides of the Great Pyramid to the true cardinal directions of north, south, east, and west, within a tiny, almost impossible fraction of a single degree. Achieving that terrifying structural tolerance on a footprint of 13 acres, using only Old Kingdom surveying tools, is an astronomical feat of human engineering that still defies our modern comprehension. We do not need fake concrete or magical sound waves to feel awe today. The raw, established facts of this massive ancient endeavor are simply staggering enough for any rational person looking closely at the undeniable historical and physical evidence left standing right there in the hot desert sun today. The technological future of Egyptology. You would think the internet had lost its mind if you believed the viral videos today. Think about that for a second. The ultimate revelation of how the Great Pyramid was constructed does not come from a rogue artificial intelligence. It comes from the awe-inspiring reality of space-age physics and non-destructive technology. In October 2015, an international collaborative project known as the Scan Pyramids mission began deploying an entirely new method to peer through solid stone without drilling a single hole. They turned to cosmic ray-muon tomography. High-energy cosmic rays from deep space crash into the upper atmosphere, producing a constant rain of subatomic particles called muons. These muons are highly penetrative, heavy relatives of electrons. As they pass through solid limestone, they are partially absorbed and scattered. By positioning specialized equipment, like nuclear emulsion plates and gas-based detectors, inside the known chambers, scientists map structural density variations. Because muons stream far more easily through empty space than solid stone, detectors receive a much higher concentration of particles from any direction containing an internal void. This exact methodology has yielded some of the most extraordinary discoveries in modern archaeology. In 2017, researchers mapped the Scan Pyramid's Big Void, a massive, hidden internal chamber measuring at least 30 meters long, floating directly above the Grand Gallery. Then, in March 2023, the team formally confirmed the North Face corridor. By combining their muon tomography data with high-frequency ground-penetrating radar and ultrasonic testing, they pinpointed a tiny opening in a joint behind the chevron-shaped stones on the north face. They successfully inserted a 5mm wide endoscope through that tiny gap, capturing the very first images of a 9-meter-long vaulted corridor that had been completely sealed off and hidden from human eyes for over 4,500 years. To fully understand the geographical context of these massive monuments, we have to look down from space. In May 2024, a landmark paleohydrological study led by researcher Iman Gonaim used radar satellite imagery and deep soil coring to discover a defunct, long-lost branch of the Nile River. This ancient watercourse, now named the Aramat Branch, was absolutely massive. It was approximately 64 kilometers long and up to 700 meters wide, flowing directly along the foothills of the Western Desert Plateau. It snaked right past the active construction sites of 31 different Old and Middle Kingdom pyramids. The massive stone causeways of these ancient pyramids terminated directly at the banks of this defunct waterway, proving that the valley temples acted as bustling, active river ports. The branch eventually shifted east and completely silted up due to a severe drought and wind-blown sand accumulation that began approximately 4,200 years ago. This magnificent paleohydrological discovery shows us exactly what the ancient Egyptians were actually doing. They did not transport massive stones across a barren desert, nor did they construct imaginary water elevators. They masterfully engineered active ports, deep canals, and massive harbors along a river highway to move materials directly to the base of the construction sites. When you integrate the map of the Aramat branch with the shipping records from the Diary of Merer, the Hatnub quarry ramps, and the friction reduction physics of wet sand, the ultimate truth is revealed. Modern science has completely demystified the ancient builders. The undeniable reality of human grit, extreme physical endurance, and applied physics is infinitely more awe-inspiring than a cheap, fake internet fairy tale generated by an automated algorithm.